Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, I think. Gautam, we can start.
Okay, noted. So, very good evening to all the viewers of this virtual CP seminar. So, today we are going to have a CP seminar on the topic intellectual property rights, advisory services, opportunities and challenges. So, the CP committee of the ICAI has decided to celebrate the month of April as IPR month, considering the relevance of the topic. And Mangalore branch has decided to invite the resource person from Pune, CS Advocate Kunal Kamath Sarpal, and we are really honored to have him here with us. So before we start the program today, I request our chairman, CA Prasanna Shane, to please welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Gautam. Good evening, everyone. So we are here for a virtual program on intellectual property rights. That's IPR advisory services, understanding the opportunities and challenges in the IPR advisory services. And considering, as Gautam said, the CP committee of ICAI is celebrating this month, the entire month of April as IPR month, and the month of May as recognized as RERA, so that CP committee can explore new opportunities or new areas of practice for its members. So the CP committee also wants its members to move out from traditional practice and focus on the new areas of practice, whether it may be RERA, whether it may be the digital accounting, or whether it may be IPR also. So I have personally seen many of the members are not concentrating on IPR as a area of practice, since there is a lack of awareness or lack of idea on how it works, or what is the scope available in this IPR services, advisory services. So we have a resource person who is an expert in this field and who is advising on IPR issues, CS and Advocate Kunal Kamath Sarpal from Pune. So on behalf of the Mangalore branch of SIRC of ICAI, I heartily welcome you to this virtual program. Welcome, sir. And on behalf of the branch, I would also like to welcome all the members and students and all the participants who have joined us today for this virtual program on IPR advisory services. So let us have a great evening, enriching our knowledge with the expert speaker, Kunal Kamath Sarpal. Over to you, Gautam.
Thank you, Prasanna, for the wonderful welcome. Now, before we commence the session, I take it as a privilege to introduce Kunal R. Sarpal to all our viewers. To start with, Kunal R. Sarpal is a nationally recognized leading lawyer and thought leader practicing in the corporate, commercial, cyber law, and intellectual property law space. By qualification, he is a BCom topper, a company secretary, and a law graduate. Founder partner of White Collar Legal LLP, an award-winning boutique law firm for 2016 and 2017 ranking in the top 10 firms in India in its category, having over 400 plus clients served through a team of 45 plus from 4 plus offices in Pune, Mumbai, Surat, and Delhi. Very passionate about entrepreneurship, he regularly is invited and presents keynote speeches and conducts workshops across corporates, educational institutions, and is a visiting faculty with Flame University, Tata Institute of Social Sciences, IIMs, and MITs, among others. He is a TEDx speaker and a youth ambassador for Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports. He passionately promotes students' entrepreneurship and startups. In 2017 alone, he has helped startups raise $14 million in equity and debt funding, out of which $1.2 million was for social enterprises. He is proud to be nominated for 2016-17 Young Leaders by Silicon India for taking his firm to 1 crore plus revenue within 4 years of its inception, catering to 350 plus clients. He has presented papers nationally and internationally on a wide variety of subjects, ranging from legal framework setting to choosing the right business model. He serves on the board of directors of several companies, serving as an independent advisor on legal issues. A polyglot fluent in over 7 languages, including 2 foreign languages. Outside of work, he also leads as division director at District 98 Toastmasters International and has served as area director and president in the past in the same organization for over 5 years. A published author, he writes extensively on law, entrepreneurship, and intellectual property. Since 2015, he has also started acting as an angel investor in startups which are working in social impact space. Sir, we are very glad to have you here. So I request you to please commence the session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Naik, Mr. Shenoy, ICAI Mangalore. And I wish I could do this session in Konkani because most of us listeners will really understand it. And I really thank you all for recognizing IP, the value of IP, and dedicating an entire month to it. And so, to put things in context, I started as a practicing company secretary in 2013. And just like all of us do, I used to do all the regular compliances for under the Companies Act, FEMA, Securities Act, all of that. And today also we are handling about 450, 500 clients doing all of that. Since about last 6 years is where I explored IP. I realized that IP can be a very good complementary services to what we do. And that's how today I would say 70% of my practice is IP and 30% has been the Companies Act. And in your case also, what I would request is today's session becomes the matchstick that lights the interest of IP so that it becomes 5% of a practice and eventually grows. So let me share my screen and we can get started. I hope you're able to view my screen. All right. First, clarity on why IP has become so important these days. If you look at the world map and you look at the most innovative countries in the world, you will be surprised to know that America, Japan, Germany, the so-called advanced countries are not even in the top 5. The most innovative countries are countries like Switzerland, Finland, Israel, and so on. And therefore, the first thing you have to understand about IP is that IP is not a function of money. It is not a function of capital. It is a function of culture. And because in Finland, Sweden, and Switzerland, the culture is of problem solving, the social security is very good. The average individual spends a lot of time in solving new problems. And therefore, the largest number of patents, trademarks, copyrights, all intellectual property is filed under these countries. Now that you understand that it's not a function of money, but a function of culture, India has a fantastic culture of innovation. In India, we call it something, it's a very unique word that we have coined for it. We call it Jugaad, right? Coming out with ingenious solutions to problems is what we are very good at. What we as Indians lack is formal training on how to recognize IP, formal training on how to file IP, and very importantly, formal training on how to commercialize IP. Because some of you in the audience, around 35, 36 of you, you must have filed for trademark, you must have come across copyrights. But how many of you, if you can raise your hand, how many of you have actually commercialized IP? You have helped sell a trademark, license a trademark, or sell a patent. Anybody in this audience? So typically, whenever I meet people who are in the IP space, I always ask them this question, that IP begins after registration. It is not limited to registration. And therefore, today's topic is also very unique, right? It talks about how to create IP as a new practice area. What are the opportunities and challenges? So from one practitioner to the other, I can tell you exactly from my journey how it works. So the first logic is India is going to boom in IP. As you might be having clients who are in e-commerce, all of them, all the brands have to be trademarked now. If you are a brand who sells products, your products compulsorily have to be designed. If you are a startup that wants a high valuation, if you're a startup that wants to avoid competition, you have to patent your software under a software patent category as a process. And therefore, today, IP is everywhere, all pervasive. But don't forget that IP is not new. It is going on since 1400. The first copyright was given in 1412 for a printing press, right? Long back, the patent was granted, patent and copyright both. So when we say, Artha Shastra, we think of Chanakya. When we say Malhar Rag, we think of Tansen. So IP is going on since a long time, but it's not structurally, academically, taught in our schools. Not just schools, I am a visiting faculty with two of the best colleges in India, with IIT Bombay and IIM Ahmedabad. And there IP is not taught as a subject until recently, where I pressurized them to include IP as a part of the syllabus. So, awareness, literacy around IP is not very good. Moving to the other slide, lot of people feel that invention, right? What can be IP, right? Invention means something that is very disruptive, right? When you replace a candle with a bulb, or when you replace a horse with a car, it is invention. But invention can be the most simple, smallest of improvement. So, invention is rarely disruptive, and in most cases, invention is incremental. Like the razor improvement over the years, invention happens like that. If you think about a car company like Tesla, it can give you an update any time of the day. If you think about your phone, the Apple phone that you're using, it can get an update every 2 months. Every update can be a software patent in itself. Your favorite site, you must be liking Facebook, Instagram, maybe Tax Guru, Money Control, wherever you like to go and read, you will notice that there are improvements, small improvements that make the product better. IP is not only about the disruptive inventions, but incremental inventions also. So this is again, initially I always focus on breaking some myths around IP, so that you understand that the smallest of thing can be registered. In terms of patent filings, if you ask me, India has not been doing very well, because, like I said, the literacy around filing patents is not very high. Education is not very high. But since, I would say, 5 years, there is a lot of policy making shifts that have been happening in India. If you notice the Startup India scheme, which gives you a 50% rebate on all these different kinds of applications on the filing fees, they fast track your application. Earlier, a patent application or a trademark application used to take 18 months, 3 years. Now it is granted within 6 to 8 months. If you look at the recognition of small entity, if you look at recognition of startup entity, all that has made the entire policy around patents very, very favorable. And therefore, last year, India had filed close to 65,000 patent applications, which is a huge increase from last time. We will, I think, in the next 4 or 5 years, become one of the truly big economies in terms of filing all these kinds of intellectual property. If you look at India as a country, we have monopolies in each sector. If you look at hair oil sector, you will find maybe Parachute owning most of the market share. If you look at automobiles, you will look at Maruti. If you look at biscuits, you will have Parle and Britannia. So in any industry you look at in India, there are two big monopolies controlling the entire market. But this is going to change. A lot of new people are coming, foreign investment is coming, and that is when the innovation increases, competition increases, and to secure yourself from the competition, intellectual property becomes very, very powerful. I'll give you a few examples. If you look at this, chart, let me just maximize it for your benefit. If you look at this chart, you will notice that maximum of these startups, which are highest valued startups in India, today Baiju is number one with about 18 billion valuation. These are all asset light, knowledge heavy startups. They don't own any infrastructure. If you look at Baiju, Oyo, Snapdeal, 197 Paytm, their valuation comes from how many users they have. The valuation comes from their turnovers. The valuation comes from their algorithm. Algorithm is the back end of the software, the brain of the software, which does so many transactions very efficiently. And that gives them the crazy amounts of valuation. To put things in perspective, Baiju's acquisition budget for this year, 22-23, is $16 billion. It is more than India's education budget. So look at the scale at which such companies are operating. And this is going to grow. Earlier, what used to happen, some rich families, Tata, Birla, few rich families, IP was concentrated. Only they could purchase a lot of land. They had to, build plant and machinery, hire a lot of staff, take so much risk, right? Go for bank loans, mortgage so much of property. But today, if you look at a company like Ola, Ola was started by Bhavish Agarwal. Today, all over the world, scalability is no challenge, fundraising is no challenge. And today, Ola is as much as a legitimate competitor to Hero Honda as is TVS because of the electric two-wheeler that they have launched. So this is going to be the trend going forward. Now, this is just not applicable to technology companies. Let me give you an example. If you look at this list talks about the top 50 most valuable companies in the world. And you will tell me, Kunal, we understand listed, tech companies. How do product companies use IP? Let me give you an example. The best, can anyone tell me which is the most expensive brand in the world? Most expensive brand? So in the fashion industry, it is Louis Vuitton. It's a French brand, very, very expensive. If you look at shoes, you will see Nike. So the way these companies operate is the intellectual property of the brand, the trademark, the tagline, the design of the brand is all owned at France. But where does the manufacturing happen? The manufacturing happens in Vietnam. It happens in Bangladesh. It happens in China. It happens in India also. So basically, most companies, even Apple and Nike, all outsource their manufacturing to these countries where labor is cheap, electricity is cheap, raw material is cheap, and they keep the brain, right? The design, the name, the brand with them. And this is a model followed by everybody. Any company you take, manufacturing will go to the cheapest and design will remain in the head office. So this is nothing but IP as a strategy. Earlier, when I joined the profession in 2013, the only people filing for IP used to be big tech companies and big pharma companies that produce a lot of drugs. Our first clients was Cipla, Serum Institute, the vaccine maker, and so on. But now everybody, right from a small startup to a trading company to a manufacturing entity, all kinds of companies require assistance with IP. Now, what are the typical IP areas? I'll go to that. I hope till now you are with me and you have no doubts. Now, these two pictures are extremely interesting, and you will not forget these examples. The first picture you will see, I am standing with a girl called Ishita Katyal. Ishita has written a book called Simran's Diary. You can see the book link. I have shared it. Here you can see it. It's on Amazon. It's a live book. When she came to me for a copyright renewal agreement, right? Agreement for increasing the royalty that she was getting on the sale of the book. I was surprised that her income that year from the sale of her books was 40 lakh rupees, 40 lakhs. And she was 14 years old. And what I realized was the life of the copyright is lifetime plus 60 years. So if Ishita lives 100 years, 100 plus 60 will be the life of the copyright. Look at the amount of passive income it can generate. Similarly, if you look at the Sippy family, which created Sholay, they are still earning around 6 crores from the movie every year. If you look at Michael Jackson as a celebrity, he's still one of the richest celebrities, even though he has died 10 years back, more than 10 years back. Why? Because every time you listen to a Michael Jackson song, every time you watch Suryavansham, every time you watch Sholay, a small percentage of the revenue, the ad revenue, the sponsorship revenue goes to these families. So intellectual property is a very good way of creating passive income. Income, you create the product once and it sort of keeps giving you. The second example, as you see, is of a student called Hazi Kazi. I met him in Bombay for the first time. You can see his invention here. He had created a device that attaches to ships. Sorry. So he had created a device that attaches to ships, and as the ship moves, the device cleans the ocean. That was a simple invention. He came to me when he was 10 years old. His father and he came to me. They were very excited to patent this. Very middle class family, did not have enough money to patent it also. I helped them out a little bit. I'm sorry, I got a call. So coming to Hazik back, so we patented it, and the moment it got published, one retired Navy commander reached out to us, Mr. Elston, and he told us that he would like to try this on one of the ships. We said okay. We created one model in Silvassa in Gujarat. We gave it for trial, and he was very happy with the trial. The first order he placed was for 450 ships, and the per ship design cost was 11 lakh rupees. 11 lakhs into 450 was his first invoice. Hazi Kazi, 10 years old. So what I understood from these two transactions was, you need not be a person who makes the idea, who actually creates a prototype, who distributes, who markets, who sells also. You just need to be the person who thinks of an idea, creates a prototype, and then gives it to a person who can take it further, who can actually make it big. You need not make all those heavy investments as the large families used to make. And therefore, IP democratizes innovation. It democratizes invention. It democratizes entrepreneurship. So that's the beauty of IP. Earlier, it was all concentrated. If you remember our grandfather's time, they used to wait for buying a car, wait for buying a scooter, wait for telephone lines, and they had no choice. Now, because the economy is open, because the competition is open, we are spoiled by choice, and we can actually go and take anything we want. And therefore, the next company or the next innovative product will not come from the large companies that you see today. It will come from anywhere. Any person with a laptop with internet connection can bring the next big invention. So I would like you to go and research more about these people, Ishita Katyal and Hazik Kazi. Now moving to the next one. So I will not take you through all the examples, but a few examples. Now the person in the center is Mr. Vivek Prasad. I had met him when I went to Nasik to Sandeep Foundation. Vivek had created a bag, a bag which aligns with your spine and changes the center of gravity so you don't feel any pain in your back. Now, Vivek came from a lower middle class family. He did not have money to make the bag, sell the bag, distribute the bag, market the bag. So I told him we'll do one step at a time. The only step we had to do is we had to file the patent and sit quietly. The moment the patent got published in the newspaper, in the patent journal, 6 bag manufacturers reached out to us. Timus bags, Samsonite, Wildcraft, many bags. And we ended up doing the deal with Wildcraft. The deal was that we give the intellectual property to Wildcraft, the design will be given to Wildcraft, Wildcraft will manufacture, Wildcraft will distribute, Wildcraft will sell, and Wildcraft will pay us 12% of the sale on each bag. Now, Wildcraft is selling more than 6,000 bags every month at an average price of 3,000 per bag. So 6,000 into 3,000 into 12% is the income of Mr. Vivek. He's just 21 years old. So I can give you multiple examples on how IP, can create a fantastic passive income, of how the world is a collaborative world. Now you can use a Microsoft product on an Apple device. You can use a Google product on a Microsoft device. So all that hardcore competition is completely gone now. Today, customer is king. Whatever the customer wants, people will collaborate and offer that to the customer. A very good example of this is SpaceX and the Hyperloop concept. The first Hyperloop is going to come between Mumbai and Pune, and it says that the Hyperloop will reduce the distance from 3 hours to 15 minutes. Now, who created the Hyperloop? So the initial concept was brought by Elon Musk, but the pod, it's a vacuum tube, and the pod that goes through the vacuum tube was created by some students in IIT Madras. The levitation formula was created by students of Taiwan. The vacuum actual suction policy was created by people from Sweden. So this is how innovation works now. It is not a single company that is innovating, but all the best people around the world coming together, collaborating, and giving mankind a fantastic solution. I hope you understand. It's become very collaborative now. So I can actually give you multiple examples, but it's a 2-hour session. I usually speak minimum 4.5 hours on IP. So I'll go a little fast. One example I'll give is Mr. Devi Shetty's example. Do you know the name of his company? Anybody? So Devi Shetty's company is Narayana Rudalay. It's a very profit-making company. It's a hospital chain. And Mr. Devi Shetty is very popular for doing low-cost heart surgeries. So people who are, under the poverty line in Maharashtra, we call them orange card holders. If you come into that category, he will do the surgery for you in 10 rupees. Now, how is 10 rupees profitable? Is he a charitable company? The answer is no. What Mr. Devi Shetty does is he has patented the assembly line system of surgery, which means, hiring a big hall, asking poor people to come who have heart issues, asking them to lay down one after the other, and the 5 group of doctors enter and then operate on one patient after the other. When they do that, they get economies of scale. They get, the doctors are able to operate on more people, and that is why it becomes cheaper. Now, this technique of assembly line heart surgery is registered by Mr. Devi Shetty and is licensed to everybody. The biggest hospitals in America, like John Hopkins, are paying Mr. Devi Shetty around $1,000 every time they use his technique. So how beautiful is that, right? That, one technique used by multiple people, giving him that kind of financial rewards. So, I am in my career worked with multiple such cases, and it's beautiful to see the same invention being replicated at different areas so well. So this is another client of mine who creates meat-like substances from vegetable waste. So he has a very interesting story. Mr. Akbar, he's from Hyderabad. He had seen the slaughtering of a goat once, and he said, "This is very bad. I have to stop this." But his family said that if you stop slaughtering, you need to give people an alternative, because people enjoy eating meat. They love the taste of meat, all of that. I'm sure some of us definitely will be non-vegetarians. I am a big one. So all of us will agree, right? It's the taste for which we eat it. So what Mr. Akbar did, he did a lot of research. He did a lot of trial and error. And he came with a process where if you take vegetable waste, right, wet waste, put it through a process, put it through, fragrance, put it through texture, you get exactly meat-like flavor and texture and everything. So today his company, he has got investments from Ritesh Deshmukh, the actor, his wife, Genelia, many other investors have put it. I'm sure some of these products will be available in Mangalore also. So we were happy that we were the people who got it patented for him. Mr. Modi had come for inaugurating his factory in Hyderabad. He is the most famous vegetarian of India. So it actually was very fit. So similarly, many examples, right? A good example is of Ford also. A lot of people think Ford has failed as a car company. It is not doing very well. But very few people understand that Ford is the first company to patent the assembly line system, right? To make the car on a single line rather than making it at different places. And because of that, every time a chair is made using assembly line, a car is made, a truck is made, anytime a person uses assembly line system, Ford gets a small percentage of that patent. And therefore, selling of cars, repairing of cars, selling of spare parts is not the main business of Ford. The main business is of licensing the assembly line system. It is just like Fiat. I don't know if you know, but Fiat is one of the most successful companies in India. not in terms of car sales, but in terms of licensing their engine to Indian manufacturers. The very biggest car company in India, Maruti Suzuki, exclusively uses Fiat engines in all their cars. The highest selling cars in India, Desire, Swift, all use Fiat engines. Similarly, if you look at MG Hector, which is a very famous car company now, I see a lot of them on the road. All of them exclusively use Fiat engines. So just because a company does not, the products are not seen on the road, don't feel that it has, failed. The strategy has changed. They have gone from B2C to B2B, and now the main IP is the technology, the engine of the company, engine of the car. So, I can give you multiple such examples if you're finding it interesting. But, and yes, now this example is also very crucial from understanding how IP becomes valuable as it changes hands. So you can see this, I think you can recognize who she is. She is Mary Kom, a very famous boxer, 6 times world champion, the mother of 2 children, and I think she's almost 40 years old. So if you want to make a biopic on Mary Kom, you have to approach her, right? If I'm Karan Johar, I will approach Mary Kom, buy the rights to make her biopic, right? Now, when I do that, I have to pay her 10 lakhs, 20 lakhs rupees or whatever. But I am not a biopic specialist. So what I do is I call my friend Rakesh Om Prakash Mehra, who had made Bhag Milka Bhag, and tell him, do you want to make this movie? He says yes. So the 10 lakh rupees script, I sell him for 50 crore rupees. He actually makes the film and earns 500 crore rupees. How much did Mary Kom get? 10 lakh rupees. How much did Priyanka Chopra get, who acted as Mary Kom? Around 10 crore rupees. So that's how every time IP changes hands, it becomes more valuable. It can be used as a strategic tool, just like real estate. You can buy a land at some point of time, hold on to it, and then sell it to a person who is in a better position to use it at a premium market value. Now, this is a very important slide. Please pay attention. Lot of people feel that IP means filing of trademark, filing of copyright, filing of patent, all of that. But the real game of IP, the real commercialization of IP happens after that. You have all heard of this company, right? T-Series. The biggest way it makes money is by tracking who is using their IP. For example, if I am A.R. Rahman, I am creating a lot of songs. How do I track that ICAI Mangalore is playing a song? Or how do I track that Kunal, there is a 5-star hotel in Pune that is playing the song, or some lift in Bombay which is playing my song? It becomes very difficult for me to keep a track of all these people. So what I do is I give T-Series the rights to become my Vasuli agent or a collection agent. So what T-Series does, T-Series has a lot of people on the ground. They keep their ears to the ground. They keep checking who is using, who is copying, who is playing the song without permission. And once they have proof, once they have evidence, they will send you a notice. They will recover the money from you, and some part of the money they will give to A.R. Rahman also. This service of understanding who is copying your intellectual property, who is using it unfairly, and recovering the money from them is actually the real game of IP, which begins after registration. If you cannot do this, then IP is only a cost. And although a lot of people do a practice of registrations also, I think you should all move to the second part of IP, because clients, when they invest, right, whatever they invest, a few thousands or a few lakh rupees, it is better to give them a return on that rather than just billing them for the registration and moving on. Similarly, if you have seen this person, he is Mr. Walt Disney, the founder of Disney. Their main goal is actually to keep a track of all their intellectual property. That is why Happy Birthday to You song is never played in any movie, if you've noticed, because that song is owned by Disney, and they will charge you $1,000 every time you use it and you play it or you sing it. So you can do it at your house, right? It's a non-commercial activity. but you will never see the song Happy Birthday to You in any movie, in any serial, or anywhere else, because it's owned by Disney. So wherever you go, you will notice that IP is at the backbone of that business. Now, coming to the actual topic of IP, uh, what are the different types? What are the different steps? What are the different procedures? And very importantly, what are the different practice areas, right? This is a key concept. So IP can be of different types. The name of a company, logo of a company, tagline of a company can be trademarked. Even the smell in a restaurant can be trademarked. Last time I came to Mangalore, my relatives took me to a very good a fish place, tandoori fish and all that. And the aroma was so good that I advised the owner of the hotel to get a aroma trademark, right? The smell trademark. There can be a sound trademark also. Like Britannia has a sound trademark, ting ting ting. Even that can be registered. Lot of companies have jingles, right? Like washing powder Nirma. It's a very famous jingle. That can be trademarked also. So all this that distinguish your business from somebody else's business can be trademarked. All right, all of this. An interesting story. When I was 2 years into my practice, I had a dream that I will take my firm international one day. Today, I have a branch in Dubai and UK also. So the dream has come true. So at that time, I had filed for an international trademark of my name, White Collar Legal LLP. That is the company name, my company name. That time, I had paid 1.4 lakh rupees. Everybody said it's a very bad decision. I should have not done it. But as luck would have it, 2 years later, another firm in UK, a law firm in UK started, and their name was also White Collar League. I got very excited. I created my notice, I attached my international trademark, and I was going to send him an email. His name was Philip Naum. He's a solicitor based out of London and Liverpool. He has two branches. So, but my mentor told me, I have a Marwadi mentor. So he advised me that you should wait for some time, let him use the brand, let him spend money on the brand, and let the brand become very important to him. And I said, okay. I waited for 2 years. I sent him a notice, and his reply was very beautiful. He said, Kunal, I have spent on the brand. My brand is registered everywhere. Can we work something out? And as you know, that is the sweetest sentence for any Indian, right? Can we work something out? So I told him, yes, you can pay me a percentage of royalty every month to use my name. And today I get 6% of his monthly billing as a royalty to use my name every month. It's not a very big amount, but it's a decent amount. So on a lighter note, whenever I'm praying to Ganeshji and whenever I'm praying, after my bath every day, I always pray that give Philip all the blessings, right? I don't need them, right? If he does well, I will automatically do well. So that is, I think, about trademarks. Then you have copyrights. Copyrights are for anything that you can copy, you can distribute, and you can adapt, like music, like sound, like sculpture, like paintings, like stories. When you write novels, all of that can be copyrighted. Copyright is valid for a very long time. It is valid for the lifetime of the author plus 60 years. So this is, I would say, what can be copyrighted. A very good example of copyright is Harry Potter series. J.K. Rowling was a single mother living on social security. She wrote these books. Today she is worth $5 billion. $1 billion is 7,000 crores. So J.K. Rowling is worth 35,000 crores because her books were adapted into a movie. The movie was adapted into merchandise. So a lot of things came out from that work. So that's how copyright works. Then you come to patents. In India, patents are granted for two major things: for products which are inventive, which are new, and for processes which are, again, very new or very inventive. To give you an example, the McDonald's burger that you eat is a product patent. Wherever you go in the world, even if you go to Switzerland, you go to North Korea, you go to Pakistan, wherever you go, the burger will look exactly the same. That is a product patent of McDonald's. And the same for KFC, Burger King, all of them. And the way the burger is made, right? A McDonald's burger is made in 6 minutes. It's called the mise en place. That 6-minute process is a process patent. Every time you order a McDonald's burger anywhere in the world, the same process is followed. That is why there is uniformity in taste, there is uniformity in service, there is uniformity in time, and that is why they have so many branches. India struggles with this. That is why in India, you will have a store with maximum 3 branches, 4 branches. But now I have clients in Pune, Mumbai, Gujarat, where I have clients who have more than 150 franchises. So Natural Ice Creams is a very good client of ours, which is again having more than 130 franchises. So that is possible if you have a process in place and the process is registered. Now, what happens if you don't register this? The person who has taken your franchisee, he will learn everything and he will open his own ice cream shop, or he will change the name of the board from Natural Ice Cream to Nick Natural Ice Cream, right? Somebody has done that already. So I think the biggest reason of getting IP is to stop others from copying what you are done after a lot of research, a lot of money spent, all of that. So these 3 are the main sources of IP: trademarks, copyrights, patents. Whenever you get a client, I think you can audit the client in terms of, is he a B2C brand? Is he a B2B brand? Does he have any of these? Are these registrable? So there is a concept of doing a search. Search is to check whether what your client has is original or not. Only if the search is positive can you actually file for the IP, otherwise you cannot. The percentage of getting an original application is very less. I would say it's 6 to 7%. In every 100 applications that we search, only 6 to 7% applications are truly original. Rest of them are just copy from here and there. Then, of course, you have designs also. Designs are very popular. When I say design, I do not mean the Sabyasachi design or the Manish Malhotra design. What I mean is a mold, right? If you look at cars, the car companies use the same design for multiple models. Like the front of the Polo is used for Vento also. The front of the Swift is used for Desire also. So using that mold is the design that I'm talking about. That design becomes very, very crucial. So a lot of companies, if you have noticed, the bag companies like Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Apple, all these big companies, they follow something known as a design theme. That design theme can be registered. So if you go to a restaurant and you see black, white, white and red with flowers, you understand it's KFC, right? So all these large companies, large branches, multiple branches, they all have a design theme, and that is registered. This is very important for a person who has multiple branches, or definitely a person who has a lot of franchisees. And I'm sure you will all have clients like that. So I think it's a good advice to give them so that they retain all their franchises. Yes. Extremely important slide. The biggest difference between Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla is the difference between innovation and invention. Nikola Tesla was one of the brightest minds in the history of humankind. Lot of great inventions, fantastic breakthroughs, fantastic papers, and all the people today like Elon Musk and many others credit Tesla, right? Nikola Tesla, on how brilliant he was. But on the other hand, Thomas Edison was not very good in terms of a brilliant mind like Tesla, but what he had was the commercialization aspect. Whatever invention made by Thomas Edison, he could price it properly, he could market it properly to people, he could sell that properly, and therefore he created a large company known as General Electric. It's still a very big company, filing a lot of patents. If you go to any hospital, the chances are that the medical devices used in the hospital are from General Electric. So it's a very successful company. So taking your invention to the market, selling it and making a big company out of it is the difference between innovative person and inventive person. All of us need to make sure we belong to the Edison category, not to the Tesla category. Because if you only file for patents, all your inventions remain in the university or they remain in the lab, it really won't help you at all. I hope you're getting what I'm trying to say. So it's very important for us to commercialize our invention or our client's invention, become Thomas Edison. So the best example of a innovator is Steve Jobs. He did not create something absolutely new, but the way he marketed, the way he told the story, the way the company made so much money, it actually became a great innovation case study. Everybody till today says that after Steve Jobs has left, Apple has lost its soul, right? A lot of people say that. So I hope that difference is absolutely clear in your minds. Okay. Yeah, any doubts so far? I'm also a professor part-time, 2 days a week. I teach almost 2 hours. So I'm happy to take any questions. Otherwise, I can just continue.
So today, a lot of YouTubers play certain, movie songs from certain old movies and roast them. Do you think these people pay the movie producers towards the copyright?
So I don't think they are paying the movie producers. So the moment the T series or any other company finds out that such thing is happening, they will immediately write to the YouTuber and also write to YouTube, and the video will be taken down.
But some of the videos are still out there.
Yeah, so somebody has to initiate action. It is like the Indian legal system, right? Until you file a complaint, proactively nothing will happen.
Okay.
That is why I said, right? I have a portfolio of 1600 trademarks today, 1600. And we offer a service called as Trademark Monitoring Service. In that service, what we do, I have 6 people in my office doing only that. We keep checking if somebody's trademark application or somebody's brand is close to our client's brand. The moment we find out, we immediately send them a notice, recover some amount, keep some amount ourselves, and give the rest of it to the client. So we are also like T series in a small way.
Looks like a very exciting job, sir.
Yeah. So, yeah, any other questions so far? All right, let me continue and then maybe wait again for some time. Now, why is it called property, right? That should be the next question. Intellectual is easy to understand. Intellectual means that you cannot physically go to the gym and create more property. It has to be a result of your intellect. You have to do a lot of trial and error, lot of experimentation, a lot of research and development, and then you might come across an invention. That's the whole point of intellectual. Why is it called property? See, why is it called property is because of 3-4 main reasons. Can you buy it? Yes. Can you sell it? Yes. Can you give it on rent? Yes. Can you pass it to your grandchildren? So if Mr. Shenoy wants to give it to his grandchildren whenever they are there, can he give it? The answer is yes. The only thing you cannot do is you cannot touch it, you cannot feel it. It is like goodwill. So in Pune, there is a very famous brand, Chitle Bandhu. I think some of you must have heard about it. So the goodwill of Chitle Bandhu is 300 crores based on the income tax formula. All of us know the formula. Similarly, you can take a separate valuation for intellectual property also. That valuation will be paid to you in addition to your plant and machinery stock, all of that. So it satisfies all the definitions, all the features of a property, and that is why it's called intellectual property. Why is it given? So there are multiple reasons why you should convince. So the first is, whenever you spend on IP, whenever you create an asset, right? Whenever you create a property, where is that expense shown? It is shown on the asset side, right? The deferred revenue expenditure, similar to that, it is shown on the asset side. If you can give your clients this understanding that what you are spending is investment, not expense, half of your job is done, right? Because in the end, whenever a third party is going to come, whenever he wants to sell the business, wherever he wants to basically liquidate some portion of his shareholding, the value of IP will be immense, right? Crazy amounts of valuations. So number one is valuation. Like I told you, a company like Oyo, a company like Baiju has most of its valuation coming from their algorithm, the source code, the technology on which the entire company is running. The brand name becomes very crucial. Just think of the last 5 big purchases you have made. Think of the phone that you are using, the car that you drive, right? All of that, somewhere you have bought it because it is a brand to it, right? That brand gives you that premium. In India, we are not very good with brand creation. There is another Saraswat who was very good with brand creation, but not very good with business, Mr. Malia, right? If you go anywhere in the world, I was in Amsterdam before the pandemic. I had gone there for a bachelor's trip, before my wedding, and I could find Kingfisher beer there. So I was surprised that no other Indian company is able to create such a big brand presence like Kingfisher. Similarly, another person, Mr. Siddhartha, VG Siddhartha of Cafe Coffee Day. I was very happy to see a Cafe Coffee Day outlet at the Singapore airport. But whenever you travel abroad, you will not see many Indian companies. Why? Because the focus on the brand is not very good. A new brand today has become very popular among Indians outside is Haldiram's. Haldiram is spending lot of money on its branding, lot of money on its trademarking, and Zomato, everybody does it a lot. And I think in the next 5 years, next 10 years, you will see a lot of Indian companies whenever you go abroad. My mama, Rahul Prabhu, he lives in Abu Dhabi. Whenever I go to his home, we tend to eat the local dishes. And I was very happy to see that they are all using Zomato as the main service, right, to order food. So it's nice to see Indian brands, everywhere. In Australia also, if you go, the major ride app is Ola, right? It's an Indian company which has become the maximum market share. So this spending on branding, this spending on IP is going to increase a lot. And since all of you prepare balance sheets, all of you are in that position of advisory, the position of a confidant, I think this becomes critical. So valuation is number one. Number two is creating an entry barrier. Now, all these large companies that I told you about, Parachute, Marico, Britannia, Parley. Let me give you an example of Parley. A lot of people think Parley has a lot of factories. But the truth is, Parley has no factories of its own. All the factories are set up by contractual people, by distributors, by different people. What Parley owns is the formula, is the ingredients, is the recipe. That's all. So again, it's a infrastructure light, a knowledge heavy business. So entry barrier becomes very important because imagine you spend a lot of money and you create a drug, you create the vaccine, right? The Serum Institute in Pune, the Poonawalla group, they created the vaccine. Now imagine if somebody else, right, Mr. Venkatesh, he takes the vaccine to a lab, he reverse engineers it, and he finds out how it is made and starts making that vaccine. All the money that Serum Institute spend will go waste. So the government basically gives you an incentive that this is your patent. Please recover all the money that you have spent for the last 5 years, 10 years on this vaccine, make profits on it for 20 years, and then I will open it to the public. Is that a fair deal? Absolutely fair. So it gives you an incentive to innovate. Otherwise, what will happen if this is not given protection? Everybody will just copy each other, and the person who has spent a lot of money, lot of time will get nothing out of it. So that incentive is very critical. Then of course, very critical is to avoid any kind of infringement. I'm actually fighting a case right now of Kamath hotels, right? Because in our community, there are so many Kamath hotels. So everybody tries to piggyback on the goodwill of the others. So if suppose Mr. Shenoy has his own practice called Shenoy and Associates, I can also be a Shenoy, right? I can also have that surname. I can also start the same name. So I can utilize his goodwill and confuse his clients and divert some of the clients to me. That is very much possible. So intellectual property, once you have a registration, now you cannot register Agarwal or Shenoy or anything, but you can register the way in which it is written, right? The artistic representation of Shenoy and Associates can be registered. So from that perspective also, IP is very good to help you distinguish. Your customer should be clear. This is my company. This is my service provider, not the other. And if you see in every space now, these people are coming up. In the hair industry, you have Habib's, which is, so many branches are there. In the spa industry, you have Four Fountain Spa, which is a client of mine, which has more than 170 branches. In the ice creams, we have Natural Ice Creams. We have Hangyo Ice Creams, which is again based out of, South, Mr. Pradeep Pai. So all these brands have spent a lot of money in distinguishing. So that is I think, one of the main reasons why IP is needed and why it needs to be taken seriously. The major branches, as you can see on the screen, I told you about patents, copyrights, trademark, design. There are also 3 branches apart from these. And the 3 branches are, one is traditional knowledge or geographical indication. I have a client now, Dr. Chandrasekhar Rao from Bangalore. He has created amazing products. He has created a seedless guava. He has created seedless mangoes. So very, very good products. So very good for pulping. People who are into juices, right? You don't have to do the hassle of removing the seeds. So all these innovations come under the concept of plant variety, as you can see the last point on the slide. So any innovation in the agricultural field becomes an innovation under plant varieties. India still, so all of us are into professions and we consider ourselves as contributing to the economy, but the biggest sector in India still remains agriculture. Agriculture is occupying 65% of the Indian population, and this 65%, whenever they innovate, you must be thinking that they are not doing very well. I have multiple farmer clients, farmer producer companies as clients. They are doing very well. They are very innovative. In a small, India works on fragmented farming, right? In a small area of land, they're able to, through innovation, make multiple yields of crops, grow multiple crops, monitor soil density, monitor humidity, remotely give fertilizer, completely grow organic products. It's fantastic, right? So all that technology comes under plant varieties. Then you come to geographical indication. Like when we say mangoes, you automatically think of Ratnagiri mangoes, right? Alfonso mangoes. When I say shawl, you think of Pashmina shawl, Nagpur oranges, Kolhapuri chappal. So all the Swiss chocolates, French wine, French cheese, right? Why do we say this? Because the geography of that particular place gives these products that unique quality. The mango that comes from Karnataka might be sweet, but it is different from the mango that comes from Ratnagiri, because the temperature, humidity, rainfall, soil component, all of that makes the mango different. Recently, I got a GI for Mahabaleshwar strawberries. It was a friend of mine who was a farmer in Mahabaleshwar, and he got it. The moment I got the registration for him, an entire export market opened up for him. He is now exporting to Singapore, to Dubai, to Vietnam, and to many other places. And earlier he could not do that. That one small box of strawberry, which he was selling for 100 rupees earlier, now he's selling for 450 rupees because he has a geographical indication on it. So any strawberries grown in Shimla or anywhere else cannot call themselves Mahabaleshwar strawberries. There are many products like this. I'm sure you know Basmati, again, there was a huge fight between where did Basmati rice come from. So all those disputes come under the logic of geographical indications. Then, of course, there are certain companies like Coca-Cola, KFC, and many others which do not file for any intellectual property. So this is interesting. Coca-Cola has been using the same formula since 1857, more than 150 years. It is Warren Buffett says that Coca-Cola is his favorite company, Coca-Cola and Apple, but Coke he is holding since a long time. Can you tell me why these companies do not file for any intellectual property? Anybody? It's a very unique answer. So, see, Coke also has a risk. Anybody can take the Coca-Cola liquid, it can take him to a lab and they can find out, right? What is the ingredient? What is the proportion? But why is Coke not filing? The answer is simple. All intellectual property expires after 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, whatever. Coca-Cola knows that the product is going to last more than that. So the basic understanding is, if the life of your product is more than the life of your intellectual property, you should not patent it. Because once the patent is over, it falls in public domain and then anybody can use it however they want. I hope you understood that. That is why Coca-Cola, KFC, many companies are there. There's a huge company which is into shock absorber production, shock gears. It's called Anand Gabriel. It holds 80% market share in two-wheelers and three-wheeler shock absorbers. Nothing is patented because they know that the same technology is being used across. There is only one country that they have patented their product. Can you guess which one? China, right? Because China can actually manufacture cheaper, dump those same products back in India and completely kill the market. Which brings me to another important point, that all intellectual property is jurisdiction based, which means that if you are a Zomato, if you're a technology company, you can spread out anywhere. Your IP should be filed internationally and not just for India. I have one client who's into fairness cream productions, right? Fairness cream. He told me his name is Emami. It's a large company based out of Bombay. He told me, Kunal, please register this fairness cream internationally. So there is a provision that you can file an application in 154 countries in one shot. I told him no. He got very upset. His ego was hurt. He told me, Kunal, all the other lawyers are telling us register. Why are you telling us no? And I told him in a very simple language that fairness cream will work where? It will work in India. It will work in Sri Lanka. It will work in Pakistan. It will work in Bangladesh. It will not work in Russia, not work in Canada, because these are already fair people, right? Fairness cream will not work. And he understood that. So if you are a manufacturing company, if you have a product, always register it first in China, then in Bangladesh, then in Vietnam, then in Luxembourg. Because these are countries where manufacturing is very heavy. You should protect them first and then protect your own country, India. So your decision to file the trademark or the patent or the copyright needs to depend on where your customers are, right? Where it can get infringed very easily. That's a very, very important consideration for all of us. So I think the major branches are also covered. So let me proceed to the next part. Now coming, okay, any questions so far? Please ask, feel free.
If Coca-Cola is not registering for intellectual, how is it safeguarding its product then?
So what they do is, not just Coca-Cola, any other company which keeps it as a trade secret, they never reveal the entire formula to anybody. All the vendors to supply different things are at different places. To give you an example, if you become a franchisee owner of KFC, what you will get is the final product. One ingredient will come from Bangladesh, one ingredient will come from Brazil, one ingredient will come from some other place, and these people will never know each other. The proportion in which they are mixed is only known to KFC owners, the actual family, that's it. That is why Coca-Cola, there is a very interesting saying that the board of directors never fly together. Because if the plane crashes, the formula will die with them. So that's how they protect it. They keep it a trade secret and they don't let anybody know the entire process. It is like a need to know basis. Like if we are interns in the company, we only tell them only that much that is useful, right? That similarly.
Okay.
Anybody else? I'm sure you must be having questions. Don't feel shy, or you can write it in the chat also. Let me proceed. So one request, I will be 6 o'clock. There is another, sadly I had scheduled another meeting, so I'll try to wrap it up a little early so that I can make it for there also. Now coming to fundamentals of intellectual property. Again, the most important slide today. If you can understand this, you can start your practice tomorrow in this field. The biggest fundamental, number one, is intellectual property is a negative right. What is negative right? It is not like a passport. It is not like driving license. That if you get passport, you can travel. If you get driving license, you can drive. Intellectual property is like owning a piece of land. How do you enjoy that piece of land? You put a board, right? Trespassers will be prosecuted. So you enjoy that piece of land by not allowing others to enjoy it. Did you get it? So it's a negative right. It is like marriage, right? So in a very light manner. So the moment you get a patent or a trademark does not mean that money will start coming to you like a magnet. It is a negative right. If somebody comes in your property, you will take some action against it. Similarly, if somebody uses your recipe, uses your formula, uses your brand name, somebody has to infringe you. So you should every day get up and pray that, Deva, somebody please, somebody infringes me. It is like in the US, they come and pray that I should be hit by a car and the car should be a S class, right? So that my compensation can be higher. So it's number one is it is a negative right. You have to find who is infringing you need to send them a notice and then you can recover your amount. Intellectual property disputes go to the intellectual property tribunal. You get a judgment within 6 months. You don't have to wait like a civil case for multiple years, right? So the judgment is fast, it is strong, and you can actually recover money. I have fought around 150 intellectual property cases so far, and 120 of them are settled, right? So it's very fast. The highest compensation we have got is 14 million USD. That is around 202 crore rupees from one of our clients for breach of IP. The company was Glenmark, it's a pharma company, and we got them a compensation that was so high. Second, very important is that it has to be useful. You can't create something that's cool, something that's sounding very good. It actually has to save cost, save time, make it more convenient. It has to be useful. The third is it should not be published anywhere. And this is something that is very important. Whenever a client comes to you and says, I have an invention in my mind, the first advice you need to give is do not publish it anywhere. Do not put it on Facebook, social media, on Google server. Don't put it anywhere. Because the moment it is published, it loses novelty. If it loses novelty, it cannot be filed under as an intellectual property. So the first advice is keep it safe. Do not publish it anywhere. This is a common mistakes lot of inventors keep doing because they're excited, right? They're very enthusiastic. The third fundamental, in case of trademark and copyright, the protection begins the moment you create the brand name or the moment you create the music or artwork or whatever. The property in trademark and copyright is based on who is the prior user, not who is the registered owner. So to give you one example, if there is a company called Whirlpool, right, in Bangalore, and they're using the name Whirlpool since 1991, and there is another company called Whirlpool in Pune, and they have trademarked the name in 2010. Who will be the rightful owner? it will be the 91 Whirlpool because they are the prior user. So whenever a client comes to you for trademark, there are two very important considerations. One is, are they the prior user? Number one. And number two, are they registered in the right class? Intellectual property works on different classes. Different classes are different business categories. For example, can I start a company called Distillery Shoes? The answer is yes, because Distillery is registered under class 5, which is a water class. But I am filing Distillery under a footwear class, so I can do it. Tata does not make chairs. Can I start a company called Tata Chair Services? TCS? The answer is no, because some marks are known as well-known marks, right? Once you are a well-known mark, you get a registration in all 45 classes, but it is given on a selective cases only when the court thinks fit, right? Otherwise, it is not given. So in trademarks and copyright, the prior user is very important. In case of patents and designs, what is important is who files first. So imagine if there are two people, there is Shah Rukh and Salman. Shah Rukh has actually created an invention, and in 2020, in the pandemic, Salman has created an invention today in January of 2022, and Salman files for the patent. Who is the rightful owner? Shah Rukh, who has made it in 2020, or Salman, who has made it in 2022? It does not matter. The person who files first is the inventor. So the strategy for patent and design is completely different compared to the strategy in case of trademarks and copyrights. Are you good? Very, very, very critical. That is why, I am 28 years old, but I very routinely get calls at 3 a.m., 4 at random times. And I have to answer those calls because the inventors are always very paranoid. They always feel, yaar, mera leak ho jayega, somebody else will file. My brother is, very mischievous. He might file it with somebody. So on a very regular basis, 3 days out in a week, my sleep is broken. I actually visit the office or the client's house. And my team also knows, we are like gynecologists, right? The call can come anytime. We go to the client's house. Within 2-3 hours, we complete the filing. We bill him high amounts for premium, but we get it done because we understand the importance of timing. There are so many patents I have personally seen which have lost out because of time, which have lost out because they did not renew the patent on time. I'll give you one example. There is this client we worked with, Sudarshan Chemicals. It's a large company based in Pune. They had created a spray, anti-corrosion spray. If you spray it on metal, it will never catch rust. That was the spray. It was expiring in 2019, and I told them to renew it before, but they forgot. On 2019, 1 minute after their patent was lapsed, their competitor renewed it. 1 minute later, which means they were waiting on their laptops with the mouse ready to pay the payment, waiting for Sudarshan to fail. So that is how competitive, the market is. And that was a very good lesson the client learned. And, you should not take it lightly, right? It's very, very important. Coming to the fourth fundamental principle, the principle of authorship. If A.R. Rahman creates a song and Sukhwinder Singh sings the song, who do you think should be the owner of the song? A lot of people say Sukhwinder Singh because execution is more important than ideation, right? All of us professionals, chartered accountants, us company secretaries, lawyers, we also get so many business ideas. So ideas are really important, I understand. But in the intellectual property field, the idea person or the composer or A.R. Rahman is treated as the main person. Sukhwinder Singh is treated as a vocal instrument. And that is why the author is always more important than the executor. So if you hire a carpenter in your house or in your office, and tell him that ye bed aise banao, and you make the furniture like this, you will be the owner of that design, not the carpenter who actually creates the design. So the concept of authorship and the concept of ideator is very important. They are the inventor, not the executor. Next, all intellectual property have different periods. Trademark 10 years, patent 10 years, copyright for a long time. Can anyone tell me why is copyright granted for a lifetime and patent granted only for 10 years? Anybody? It's a very commonsensical answer. Bangalore is a tough audience. You have to take them out for lunch and dinner if they have to talk. So, if you look at why copyright is given a long time, it is very simple, right? Dr. Kalam had written a book called Wings of Fire, his biography. That book will never become irrelevant. I can give it to my child can give it to his child also, it will still remain relevant. A movie like Three Idiots, you can watch it after 100 years also. So that is why copyright is granted for things which remain relevant for a long time. But a patent, so I'm talking to you on a iPhone 12 Pro, right? Very, very advanced phone. But today it has become outdated. Today Apple has come with, I think, 13 Pro or 14 Pro, I don't know where it is. So technology, anything that is patented is outdated within a few months. That is why the patent term is very short. Are you getting it? So protection is granted based on how relevant the invention will remain after a certain point of time. All right. Next, very important fundamental is the fundamental of provisional filing versus final filing. Very, very critical concept. Lot of people feel that I am not an engineer. How do I create a mobile application? Or I am not an engineer. How do I create, I'm not a medicine person. I'm not a pharmacist. How do I create a new drug? Or I am not a food specialist. How do I create a new food product? So please understand, firstly is ideator is more important, not the executor. Second is, for registration under intellectual property, prototype is not compulsory. If you can explain what the invention is and how it works, that is enough. You get a provisional registration for 1 year based on that, on paper invention only. Now, what people do is, a lot of people, especially where I am consulting in Pune, Mumbai, Delhi, and Bangalore, is they will create an invention, they will register it, and then they will find an investor who wants to work on that invention. It's a very profitable business, very profitable. So if you have an idea in your mind, my humble suggestion is hire a software developer or a software architect, get the invention described on paper, register that paper with you, and then try to pitch it to some people. No, they might give you a good amount just for the provisional patent itself. Today, I am in the fundraising space. Every month, we raise funds for at least 2 to 3 startups. In startups that have a provisional patent, the fundraising success is almost 50% more than the other startups which do not have funds, which do not have a intellectual property. So it's that critical. So provisional is a very, very good legal provision that the government gives us, and we need to utilize all of that. What happens after 1 year? If you are not able to find an investor, you have to compulsorily create a prototype and submit that prototype. Otherwise, your application will be abandoned. That 1 year period can be extended by 1 more year, but 2 years is the maximum. And 2 years is a long time to create a prototype or to create a, to raise investment. So that is provisional versus final. I hope you understood. Then coming to the concept of reciprocity. Reciprocity is a concept that if you file a patent in India, India is a signatory to multiple countries. We have a treaty known as the Madrid Treaty, the Brussels Treaty, the Patent Cooperation Treaty, the TRIPS Agreement, trade-related aspects of intellectual property. In all these treaties, it's very important to understand that the moment you register something in India, you automatically get protection in all these member countries. So it's so beautiful that whenever a person comes to me, so we are helping a company now. They are into they're into like a Uber for trucks. So when we filed a patent in India, they automatically got protection in America, Europe, everywhere. And the investor came from a small city in Germany because he saw the patent application getting published there, and that's how he raised funds. Today is really doing very well, operating in multiple cities. So these, I think, last two I will let it go, but these are, I would say, the most crucial fundamentals of intellectual property. Now coming to the main topic of today, right? What is the practice area, right? How do we make money from this? The practice area is now, let me start. In trademarks, filing of trademarks, I do a filing of about 100 trademarks a month. The government fee is around 4,500, and professional fee you can charge 10, 15, 20 based on your rapport with the client and how many classes you are filing for. So filing becomes first. Some of these trademarks are objected under section 11 and 9, absolute and relative grounds of objection. Replying to this objection can become a fantastic area of practice. Some third parties also opposed to your trademark. I had applied for a trademark for Mr. Rao, who was in Mangalore, and Coca-Cola objected to him. And we replied to Coca-Cola also. Sometimes Apple objects, Sony objects. So replying to these third-party oppositions is a fantastic practice area. Lot of people will send notices to you, or you will send notices to them. All of that litigation aspect can be a fantastic practice area. Valuation of a trademark, amazing practice area, because today there are so many mergers and acquisitions, so many private funding deals going on. One of the biggest points of valuation becomes the value of the share, which you can get through a discounted cash flow or a net asset method, and the value of your intellectual property assets, which can help you negotiate a better price for your company. And lastly, transactional documentation. Whenever a trademark changes hands, whenever it is, so a lot of people do this mistake. They file trademark in the name of the individual, not in the name of the company. So then licensing the trademark from the individual to the company, exclusive license, right? It's called an assignment deed. Doing that, you can do that. You can charge them for the drafting. You can charge them for filing the assignment deed with the trademark registrar. You need to be a trademark agent, and as far as I know, as a chartered accountant, you can easily register for a trademark agent and immediately start this practice. For copyrights, you don't need to be an agent also. Anybody can get into copyrights practice. Extremely booming, because in India, software is registered under copyright, not under patents. It's a legal flaw, but it's the flaw that works to our advantage. So in copyrights also, there are copyright filing. Lot of discrepancies are raised by the copyright registrar. You can reply to them. Lot of works have to be submitted. You can do that. Lot of transactional valuation, transactional documentation is to be done. You can absolutely do that. And lastly, valuation of a copyright. There is no specific guideline as to how to value copyrights, but you can use the same method that you apply for trademarks for copyrights. I am in touch with at least, I would say, 30 to 40 chartered accountants in Pune, Mumbai, but none of them have a specialization in IP valuation. I can give a person at least 15 assignments every month if they can give me a specific, confirmation that I can do IP valuation comfortably. 15 assignments. In 2018, I realized that the DCF valuation, right, this discounted cash flow valuation, is really working for the startup industry, because they don't have audited balance sheets, they don't have profits, they don't have anything, right? It's all projection. So we started that practice also, discounted cash flow valuation, reports. And today we are doing around 30 reports every month. So just for like that, I think this can be a fantastic practice area. And this is like a blue ocean, right? Not many players are there, not very saturated. You can get into it easily. But I'm not sure how the culture is at Mangalore. So you'll have to understand the culture and the client mindset first. Then you come to patents. Now for patents, it's important to understand that you need to collaborate with a patent agent, because for this you need a science background. If it is a chemical patent, you need a chemical engineer to work on it. If it is a civil engineering patent, a building patent, you need a civil engineer to work on it, an architect to work on it. I am working on a patent for a powertrain for 30 models of Ashok Leyland, and I have actually hired 12 people who are engineers in EV tech, right? EV automotive tech. I'm going to be busy with that assignment for the next 2 years, I think. 30 models, 30 patent applications you have to do for a company called Ashok Leyland. I'm sure you've heard of them. So you need to have a collaborative practice when it comes to patents, because I am assuming that all of us are from a commerce background. We can, and patent is a techno-legal document. The legal part we can handle. I, as a company secretary and an advocate, can handle the legal part. But the techno part, you have to tie up with some patent agent who can handle that techno part. I personally have around 4 people on my salary who are, engineers and got a different specialization. Most of the patents that come to me are pharma patents, drug companies, and IT patents, software patents. So you can definitely, collaborate. The patent practice is very high paying. To give you an example, the government fee involved in filing a patent is about 1,500 rupees, and the professional fee that we charge ranges from 50,000 and all the way can go up to a few lakhs also. And for us to finish drafting a patent application takes only 3 days. So typically on an average, the billing is about 1.2 or 1.5 lakhs for 2 to 3 days of work, which is high, high value, high volume also. Otherwise, typically what happens in a profession is you are doing high volume work, and that's not very exciting after some point. You can have junior partners manage that kind of work, and you yourself come into this area of practice. Very, very crucial. So in patents, right from the novelty search to the drafting of the patent applications, to replying to objections and oppositions, to actually representing at the hearing, to doing the valuation of the patent, it's a very, very big game. There are firms in Pune and Mumbai that I know who are only practicing in IP, who have a team of more than 100 people. I personally have a team of 36 people now. I'm 7 years, 8 years, this is my 8th year into practice. And that team of 36 has been possible only because of IP. If I was still in my company secretarial practice, I would maybe have 3 or 4 qualified company secretaries plus a lot of interns, like the typical model that we do. If I was in my law practice, I would have had maybe 4 or 5 junior associates. But in the IP field, you have to have a lot of staff because it becomes very critical from a time perspective. And the money is good that you can hire more people. So, yeah. So I think going forward, most of the crimes that will happen will be cyber crimes, IP crimes. Most of the World War III, as it has started in Russia, I think the World War will be data wars, right? People will be trying to copy each other's IP. They will be trying to copy each other's data. They will try to leak others' data. To give you an example, I was fighting one insurance case. And in that insurance case, the insurance company refused the claim of the individual, my client, because they got a detail from Swiggy that the client eats a lot of red meat. That is why he's negligent. And that is why his insurance claim is to be rejected. So imagine what data is going where to whom, we are never known. And that is why the new areas of practices are these. I call them the sunrise areas of practice. This is going to be in a boom for the next 10-15 years. I invite you on this journey. Do not disturb your current practice. but I would say slowly and steadily try to develop this. I think, yeah, if you want to learn more about IP and how it functions, I want to learn about the new cases that come. If you like the case studies that I gave, you can read more case studies also. So these 5 resources that you can see on the screen are something that you can note down and visit, subscribe to the newsletter. I have a newsletter that comes out every week. You can come to my website and subscribe also. It's a small newsletter, 5 pages only. It will give you all the important updates, weekly updates. So yes, overall, I think this was a small brief into IP. One session, I think, whenever I'm in Mangalore next, we can do is a workshop on how these applications are actually, how is the search done? How is a patent application actually written? So we can do like a small 1.5 hour workshop, and I can teach how actual drafting is done. So because honestly, all our profession we have learned through articleship and internships, right? All the what we have learned for exams we forget. Whatever we do, we remember. So I think all of you should try with 1 or 2 assignments, should collaborate for the first few assignments. And once you have confidence, build this as a new practice area within your firm. I can guarantee you that this will be the highest margin and highest growing practice area in the near future. This, and so for me, it was IBC, which I started in 2017, which was money recovery practice basically, and IP. So IBC and IP has been the game changer for me in the last 5 years, and I wish that it happens for you also. So yeah, thank you very much for having me. I am open to questions. Please ask. Yeah.
So if there is any questions, feel free to come online and pitch it. If not, even in the chat box, you can post the same.
In a fundamental slide, there was a point of mafia logic. What is that about?
Yes. Yeah. I knew that somebody will point it out. So the third last point, right?
Yes.
So mafia logic is the government in India or anywhere in the world is like a mafia. It will protect you only if you pay protection money. So the government will recognize your intellectual property only if you have actually got a provisional registration. That is what mafia logic means. Like a lot of us are doing contracts on letterheads. So letterheads is not legal, right? On an agreement, you have to pay stamp duty based on, the state to state, the stamp duty is different, but you have to pay stamp duty. If you go to the court and say, this is the leave and license agreement between Mr. Gautam Pai and me, the court will say, Mera paisa kidhar hai? Stamp duty kidhar hai? If stamp duty is not there, the court will say, I don't recognize this document, get out of here. That is mafia logic. So to get protection, you first have to pay protection money.
And one more thing about the example you gave, sir. Shah Rukh and Salman.
Yes.
Wherein Salman applied for trademark in the year 2022, and Shah Rukh had developed that the process in 2020. But eventually Salman applied first, and he got the registration done.
Yes.
So whether Shah Rukh has any legal applications or legal opportunities to go against Salman and apply for a fresh application against Salman?
No, he has to.
Only the first filer will get the registration.
Yes. So like I said, in trademark and copyright, Shah Rukh will win, but in patents and design, Salman will win. So I think
anyone else?
From practicing perspective, you will have to spend a lot of time creating awareness and convincing the clients that this is important for your business. Because initially when I started this practice, clients were very skeptical. But when they saw a few success stories, when one client got his trademark sold to another competitor, right? So I'll give you a very good examples. You know Havells as a company, right? Havells. It was a company that was not doing very well. So another competitor bought the brand Havels, and that brand basically made him big. He could go for an IPO. It becomes such a big company. So even if there is one or two success stories in Mangalore, that's all you need. Then automatically everybody else sort of jumps on the bandwagon. So yeah, initially that awareness creation is the effort you'll have to put. If you are in Pune, Mumbai, any of the tier one, this awareness creation is not required. But initially, even I had to do that.
We have just started, sir. I think the awareness has started. I think we'll set up a workshop so that we can create more awareness amongst the members to explore this area.
Yes, yes. So in the CS Institute, there is an optional paper already introduced in the CS final. In the law also, an elective paper is introduced in the second year of LLB. So I think one thing all of you can do is you can make a representation to ICAI that at least at some level, IP is introduced as a subject so that upcoming students at least have a basic idea. And our institutes are very good, they're very dynamic. So if 5-10,000 members make a representation, it can actually come true.
Definitely, sir, definitely. So if there is any other question, I think Gautam Bhai can proceed for out of them.
Yes, we don't see any more questions. So we'll proceed with the formal vote of thanks. Friends, today we had CS, an advocate, but most importantly, we had an IP specialist who not just gave us a lot of overview. It is not, we cannot call it as an overview, but he has given us a lot of food for thought as well as given us an idea that a new emerging area of practice in the form of IP can be developed at Mangalore. With his lively examples and all the practical cases that he has handled, he has made the last 1.5 hour time very engaging and ensured all of us have a grip over the topic. On behalf of the branch, the managing committee, and everyone, we wholeheartedly thank Kunal Kamath Sarpal for joining us this evening and giving us an excellent presentation and also creating awareness, as he rightly pointed out, regarding this topic of IP. And as our chairman rightly said, very soon, since this has created the right awareness and interest in all of us, maybe a workshop of this nature in the near future we may come up with, and we solicit your support even then, sir. So once again, on behalf of all the delegates today who have joined the branch and the managing committee, we wholeheartedly thank you for giving us such a lovely and wonderful presentation. I also extend my cordial gratitude to all the delegates who have joined this evening weekend, and we have come online because the speaker of today was far from us, so we have come on a webinar mode. I thank all of you for joining us, and once again we wish to remind you all that the coming Wednesday we are having one more study circle, and that is at the branch premise, and it is on penal provisions, income tax by our own
condonation of delay in ITR and forms and
correct. By our own member C.S. Sriram Rao, we request you all to join. Let us all have a engaging 2 hours, learn more from his wisdom, as well as share all the experience and knowledge we have and amongst us, and better ourselves. So with this, we wish to conclude, and once again thank all of you for joining us and making this seminar a good one. Thank you once again. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sir, can we end the?
Yes, ma'am.